You see, Boruto, just like any other manga, has its issues. It isn't perfect, nothing truly is. However, you can't hope to fix these issues if you don't address them in the first place, which is exactly what I'm going to do in today's video. The focus of course being the villains or antagonists, who I believe are just as important as the protagonists when it comes to the quality or depth of your story. Now, this isn't going to be a video of me comparing the philosophy of Boruto villains to the layered antagonists we had in Naruto. I'm more so focusing on the decisions made by these characters in the story that doesn't lend favorably to their intelligence levels. In fact, I would say these characters are outright brainless, empty-headed morons who shouldn't have been introduced into the story at all. Or at the very least, they should have been better written, which we're going to get into as well. Now today we'll be focusing on Jigen/Isshiki Otsutsuki, as I truly believe that he's up there in the running for the most imbecilic villain in the entire franchise. Yes, I said franchise. Now this might sound outrageous, but I can say with 99% certainty that you will agree by the end of this video. Now the first thing we need to do is establish character motivation, as in what's his goal in the story. Well, in order to do that, you need to know what happened in his past. So let's start there. Now based on what's explained to us by Amado, Ishiki came to the planet 1,000 years ago alongside Kaguya, since the Otsutsuki travel in pairs. Their goal was to plant the divine tree and harvest its chakra fruit, but for some unknown reason, Kaguya turned against Ishiki and attacked him while he was off guard. She did enough damage to him that he was left on the verge of death. However, he managed to survive by taking over the body of a nearby monk called Jigen. He did this by shrinking himself to a very small size using the ability called Sukuna Hikona. He then flew into Jigen's head and connected his lower body to his brain in order to feed off his nutrients. He did this because he was too weak to implant karma on Jigen, nor did he have enough chakra to perform the technique. It's confirmed by Amado that even to this day, Ishiki still lives within Jigen's head, feeding off his nutrients like a parasite. Only now he has full control over Jigen's body. It's also confirmed that Ishiki was able to implant karma on Jigen after regaining his strength sometime down the line. By the way, karma basically allows an Otsutsuki to resurrect in a suitable vessel. This is done by backing up their digitized data to a chip, which is then implanted into the chosen vessel. The data then extracts over time until the person is 100% Otsutsuki, thus allowing the Otsutsuki to resurrect in their body upon dying. Now Ishiki's case is very special since he had a very hard time finding a perfect vessel, one that was compatible and could handle his immense power. Jigen wasn't that guy, since even though he was compatible with karma and Ishiki could technically use his body to resurrect himself in his true form, Jigen's body just couldn't handle Ishiki's full power. In fact, it's stated by Amado and Ishiki that he would die within a few days if he revived himself through Jigen. So naturally, Ishiki needed to find another vessel, and that's where Kawaki comes in. You see, based on what we're told, it appears that Ishiki, who now exists within the brain of Jigen, has been searching for a new vessel for over 1,000 years, since it's been that long since the incident with Kaguya. We know for a fact that he only started the organization known as Kara a little under 12 years ago, since it's stated by Amado that he was approached by Jigen the same year his daughter died, which was 12 years ago. So Ishiki has waited a very long time and has probably killed 1,000 innocent humans trying to find the perfect vessel, because as we found out later on, if the individual isn't compatible with karma, they will die. We actually saw this in action later on when Jigen tried to implant karma on at least 12 kids before he got to Kawaki. All of them died aside from Kawaki and Code. By the way, Code is similar to Jigen in a sense where he was compatible with karma, but he wasn't suitable to be a vessel. The main difference is that Code couldn't even be used to resurrect for a few days like Jigen, since his karma wasn't able to Otsutskify his body. He only had the karma in the form of a weapon, nothing else. So in essence, Ishiki only had two vessels, one being Jigen, who died after a few days upon resurrection, and the other being Kawaki, who is his only perfect vessel. Now you might be wondering, if Kawaki was a perfect vessel, why didn't Ishiki just use him to resurrect? Well, that's because, as I mentioned earlier, before an Otsutsuki can resurrect within a vessel, the karma has to fully extract the Otsutsuki data to fully Otsutskify the vessel's body. We learned later on that at this point in the story, Kawaki was only 80% Otsutskified, so Ishiki couldn't resurrect within his body even if he tried. This leads us to the events of the vessel arc, which is when the glaring issues with the characters starts to arise. This all began when the airship transporting Kawaki, who is referred to as the vessel, fell some somewhere in the land of fire near the Hidden Leaf village. We can see that Jigen is very concerned as he states that this is a serious circumstance that should never have occurred, and that they should remember that the vessel is the one key to fulfilling their most cherished wish as Kara. Just to clarify, Jigen promised every member of Kara that he would grant their wishes once he resurrects within Kawaki, so that's why it's in their best interest that the vessel is recovered. Now Kashin Koji, who's a top member in Kara, said that he'd go recover the vessel since it went missing in his jurisdiction. This of course was approved by Jigen. What we later found out is that Kashin Koji is the one who crashed the airship so Kawaki could escape. This plan was orchestrated by him and Amado, the same guy who assisted Jigen with implanting Kawaki with the karma in the first place. Now Jigen does have some suspicions about the incident, but he isn't 100% certain that they were scheming against him, so I'm not gonna say he was stupid for getting betrayed. However, there's a big problem with how Jigen addressed the situation, which doesn't really make sense if you understand the gravity of the situation. As I said before, Jigen did send Kashin Koji to go find Kawaki, but he also sent Delta to go assist Kashin Koji on his mission since she really wanted to go for some reason. Delta of course being another member of Kara. What's interesting here is that in his conversation with Delta, he doesn't seem worried about recovering Kawaki at all. In fact, he says to Delta that the vessel shall eventually return to him, for it's just not possible for him to escape from him. Now this might seem like Jigen is just overconfident in Kashin Koji's abilities, but we later found out that Jigen had the ability to track Kawaki using karma all along. In fact, he could even use karma to instantly travel to Kawaki's exact location at any point in time. So I want you guys to understand that Ishiki, who has been searching for a perfect vessel for over 1000 years, finally found one and just has no urgency when it comes to recovering that vessel. It just doesn't make sense. By the way, Kawaki was missing for at least a week, not just a few hours, for multiple days. This lines up when you factor in the time he spent in the village before Delta attacked and also the days leading up to Jigen's arrival. I want to point out how stupid this decision is by highlighting how angry Ishiki was when all his potential vessels kept dying as he was running out of time with Jigen. And now that he finally found one vessel after 1000 years of waiting, he's just okay with letting Kawaki wander for days where literally anything can happen to him. It just doesn't make sense given how desperate Ishiki was when it came to finding a vessel. By the way, I wanted to clarify that even though Jigen can use karma to go find Kawaki at any point in time due to their connection through karma, he still has no idea what's happening to Kawaki on a day-to-day basis. He doesn't know whether he's getting beaten to a pulp or on the verge of death as he was in the battle versus Boruto. He had no idea about the battle with Garo or him losing his hand to Delta. And unlike Momoshiki, whose consciousness seems to be linked to Boruto, Ishiki's clearly isn't to Kawaki since he's alive in the brain of Jigen. Unlike Momoshiki, who flashes in Boruto's mind when Kawaki's karma resonated with his, Kawaki saw nothing and neither did Ishiki feel anything. This is confirmed by the fact that he was surprised to find out that Boruto had a karma when Delta told him about it later on. So Ishiki slash Jigen, whatever you want to call him, is really just operating blindly when it comes to Kawaki. Now Kashin Koji did theorize that Ishiki's motive for sending him on the retrieval mission, even though he could have just tracked Kawaki and retrieved him himself, was Jigen testing him since, as I mentioned before, he had suspicions about the incident. Jigen even confirmed this to be the case after he was confronted by Kashin Koji later on, but it just doesn't make sense given the circumstances. No one with at least 2 functioning brain cells would use their last hope of survival as bait to see if one of your members wasn't being truthful. Like, there was zero risk assessment when he made this decision, which makes it seem like it happened just so the plot can progress instead of being something someone would do in this situation. It's basically the writer knowing that Kawaki will be okay in the end, so he's writing the story as if the characters are aware of this as well. The flaw in the writing would have easily been avoided if Kodachi or whoever wrote this just wrote that Ishiki could tell exactly what was happening with Kawaki at all times, similar to Boruto and Momoshiki. So in a sense, it would be like he wasn't really in any danger at any moment in time since Ishiki could just pop up and save him. However, that wasn't the case and Kawaki almost died multiple times due to Ishiki's negligence. Now there are other issues with the character that I'd like to touch on, which has more to do with the abilities and how they're used. His sensory abilities, similar to Momoshiki, are a main point of contention, but whereas Momoshiki's sensory abilities are just inconsistent, Ishiki's sensory abilities just non-existent. As I said earlier, Ishiki did travel to the village to retrieve Kawaki, but before doing so, he went to another dimension to absorb some chakra from a juvenile Ten-Tails he has in his possession. The issue here is that Sasuke was also present in this dimension when Jigen arrived. In fact, he was just a few meters away from where Jigen was the entire time. Yet for some reason, Jigen had no clue Sasuke was there even after taking in the Ten-Tails power and transforming into his most powerful form. Mind you, this isn't Jigen ignoring Sasuke's existence, because he was later surprised when Sasuke revealed to him that he saw him in that dimension and wondered how Sasuke found out about it. Contrast this with Kinshiki and Momoshiki, who could sense the chakras of everyone at the Chunin exam stadium from miles away. You even have Ishiki, who after resurrecting in Jigen's body, getting drop-kicked by base Naruto. Like, even if you want to call it an off-guard feat mid-battle, even Momoshiki was shown to be able to sense an off-guard attack by base Naruto that he was easily able to dodge. Not to mention Ishiki not noticing base Boruto dashing over to him to block his attack on Sasuke. Like, how do you not notice Boruto until the very last moment when your blade is about to land? It just doesn't make any sense. Now we're kinda skipping way ahead here, but after Ishiki summoned Kawaki to the battlefield post getting his ass beat by Baron Mode Naruto, we see again that he wasn't able to sense where Kawaki was on the very same battlefield. Like, Sasuke used this bomb that could block clairvoyance, so Ishiki couldn't find him using the Byakugan. But for some strange reason, he just couldn't sense where Kawaki was even though he was in the same vicinity, literally below him on the same battlefield. Ishiki literally started panicking and screaming because he was about to die at any moment without a way to resurrect since his karma seal was removed from Kawaki's body. This just goes to show that Ishiki doesn't even have the basic sensory abilities we've seen from father ninjas in Naruto or even the other Otsutsukis. There's also this major writing flaw in how he used the ability called Sukuna Ikona. This ability basically allows him to shrink non-living matter and himself. For the most part, he uses this ability in conjunction with his ability to summon rods. As stated by Sasuke, the rods start out very small enough that you don't even realize that you've been stabbed, but they inflict mortal wounds when Jigen instantly restores them to their original size, which means Jigen can literally fill you with rods without you even knowing, then expand them all at the same time to kill you instantly. The issue here is that Jigen never does this. In fact, it's like he goes out of his way to not kill Naruto or Sasuke each time he stabs them with his rods. He legit avoids all vital organs including the neck area and their heads, which would be the main part you'd aim for if you're trying to kill someone. Mind you, Naruto and Sasuke are not reacting or perceiving these rods. He's the one not aiming for these areas, but why? His goal is to kill them so he can go get Kawaki, so why is he not trying to kill them even though it's his stated objective multiple times? Well, the answer is plot armor. You see, this is what happens when you introduce an ability that's too overpowered with little to no limitations. Let me show you how many times Jigen and Ishiki could have ended Naruto and Sasuke with their rods, but the plot just wouldn't allow them to. Alright, 1, 2, 3, go. So as you guys can see, Ishiki isn't that brain dead that he doesn't know how to aim. In fact, we literally see him target vital organs when attacking Naruto's clones, even though he doesn't know which one is the real Naruto. We see Jigen do the same thing to Kashin Koji's clones by aiming for the eyes, the head, the heart, and neck area. However, when it comes to Naruto and Sasuke, the plot nerfs his ability and intelligence into oblivion. This is a failure on the writer's part because his job is to make the story coherent and consistent. If you pull a new ability out of your rectum, you should flesh it out before throwing it on paper. Don't make an ability too OP to the point where you have to later nerf that ability in order to progress the plot. This is a rookie mistake. The writing in this fight is so poor as well because you have Jigen whose body is starting to crack due to his fight with Naruto and Sasuke, so he decides again that it's time to kill them quickly. He demonstrates this intent, by the way, he demonstrates his intent to kill them quickly by once again avoiding all violence vital organs for Naruto and Sasuke when he summoned his rods again. Not only that, he then says that it's going to take too much work to kill Naruto due to the Nine Tails, so he has to seal him away instead. Sasuke on the other hand has to die right here, right now. He then demonstrates his intent to kill him again by casually walking towards Sasuke, who he knows has space-time ninjutsu to escape. He literally says this himself, which of course leads to Sasuke escaping at the very last moment. By the way, Jigen could have easily killed Naruto and Sasuke right here with a few rods to the head, similar to what he did to Kashinkoji. Even if you want to argue that maybe Naruto can somehow survive this due to his healing factor, Sasuke sure as hell won't. But of course the plot simply won't allow that to happen. Again, rookie writer mistake. There's also the issue with how Jigen was killed or how he died, which led to Ishiki resurrecting using his corpse. We see that Kashinkoji basically lured him into a seal which allowed him to summon real fire, again real fire, regular fire, from some mountain in Boruto. He did this because his karma seal can't absorb things that are not chakra derived, such as real flames. So that's kind of the limitations when it comes to the karma seal. Now I'm sure my smart intelligent viewers are probably thinking that Jigen's next move was to just leave the area where the fire was, right? Well, that would be the logical next step, but in true Jigen fashion, he decides to stand in the fire and try shrinking it instead. Mind you, Jigen is standing on the seal that is summoning the fire he's trying to shrink, so more fire just kept pouring in. This is something he himself has noticed. Again, this is just regular fire from some mountain in Boruto. It's not chakra based or being amped in any way. So it's wild that bro got folded by normal fire while Kid Naruto was tanking fireball jutsus from an amped up Sasuke. Just think about how stupid that looks. Even though Jigen was starting to lose power since he wasted all of his chakra shrinking fire, he still never thought of just moving or flying away. He just stood in the fire and died. Now, while we're on the topic of chakra and abilities, there's something else I wanted to point out. As I mentioned earlier, Jigen's body couldn't handle Ishiki's power, so he had only a few days to live post-resurrection. What we know in Naruto is that your life force is connected to chakra, which is why if your chakra ever hits 0, you would immediately die. This is actually how Kakashi died during the Pain arc, which people think it was due to the nail that Pain shot into his head, but Kakashi actually teleported that nail away using Kamui. He actually died due to chakra exhaustion due to using Kamui, so that's actually what happened there. Now, before you guys say this doesn't apply to the Otsutsuki, there's actually concrete evidence that confirms that it does. For one, in his fight versus Baron Mode Naruto, who had the ability to shave off the life force of his opponent, we learned that he's able to do this due to the connection shared through chakra. As said here by Kurama, the downside of Baron Mode, where it shortens their life force, is the key to defeating Ishiki. That's because all chakra is connected. The same power that comes into being by shaving off bits of our lives, and this is done by shaving off their chakra, also shaves off Ishiki's life when it comes in contact with him. This makes sense since Baron Mode is powered by the consumption of Naruto and Kurama's chakra, so when they come in contact with someone else using chakra, their chakra is also siphoned off by the form. So this is very simple. If Naruto is reducing Ishiki's life force by siphoning his chakra using Baron Mode, that simply means that Ishiki's life force is connected to the amount of chakra he possesses to some degree. There's also a panel and scene where Ishiki views his remaining life force and it's just dwindling chakra. So this confirms that it does kinda indicate that chakra is tied to life force even for the Otsutsuki. Now the reason why I brought this up is because if you're Ishiki and you know that your life force is linked to your chakra amount to some degree, why would you be wasting your chakra, thus shortening your lifespan? We have multiple instances of Jigen just spamming his abilities in situations that are not necessary instead of just brute forcing the target or just simply moving. Like after he was resurrected through Jigen, the first thing he did was shrink every single thing in the room just to show us that he could. He then shrank all the fireballs fired by Kashinkoji instead of just dodging them and attacking Koji. Mind you, he keeps doing this the entire fight, just allowing Kashinkoji to attack him so he can flex his shrinking ability. He had multiple opportunities to just stuck a rod in Kashinkoji and be over with it, but he just decides not to. There's also a scene where he shrinks like 20 fireball punches from Kashinkoji Koji before finally deciding to punch him in the face, another instance where he could have easily killed him using his rods. You then had this scene where Kashin tried to kill Ishiki by launching a chakra-based fire attack, keyword there being chakra-based, on his left and also a Rasengan on his right. He's then like, now choose Ishiki, do you prefer getting ripped apart or burning? The entire time I'm like, how do you know that Ishiki can't just absorb these attacks like Jigen could? Well, he knows because the writer does. Ishiki is the first Otsutsuki who lacks sensory and the ability to absorb jutsus for some weird reason. But even then, the fire he lit on the left is just a one-time thing. There isn't a seal that's continuously summoning more fire. So all Ishiki would need to do is just shrink it once. In fact, he can simply choose to shrink either the fire or the Rasengan in any direction and just move in that direction and he would be fine. Not only that, we've literally seen Ishiki shrink multiple things at the same time moments earlier. Kashin Koji saw this himself. Why would he think that this was a good plan? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, Ishiki could have also flown upwards, but he wasted his chakra using his other ability called Daikokuten, which pretty much allows him to summon things he stored in another dimension. And that's basically the end of Kashin Koji. Now look, I know Ishiki was just playing with Kashin Koji to flex on him, so it explains why he was using his abilities and not just folding him using his rods, but given the circumstances with his life force, this was a stupid decision. By the way, this continued when he went to the village looking for Kawaki. Bro was literally shrinking shurikens thrown by random father Jonins. Then he shrank regular shurikens thrown by Sasuke to distract him, and even Sasuke's sword, which is how he got speed blitzed by Karma V1 Boruto and got sent to another dimension. Like, how do you, Ishiki, get caught by Boruto's space-time ninjutsu when you saw him long before he even moved his hand forward to perform the jutsu? For comparison, Kawaki tried to off-guard Boruto using his space-time ninjutsu later on in the manga, and Boruto was able to react and absorb the jutsu. Now maybe Ishiki can't absorb, but Ishiki could certainly just move or shrink it using his ability called Tsukina Ikona. Like, Karma 1 Boruto is below base Naruto levels at this point in time, so Ishiki of all people should easily be able to react to Boruto, but we can't have that happening because the plot needs it to not happen. Now after Ishiki was carried to another dimension by Boruto, Sasuke and Naruto followed them there using Sasuke's space-time ninjutsu. Ishiki could have easily just left and went back to the village, but he did make a smart decision since he decided to stay with Naruto and Sasuke in that dimension because they would have just followed him back and caused problems. So his stated goal again, just like Jigen, is to kill Naruto and Sasuke, then have the village members reveal Kawaki's location. However, and this is really funny because as I pointed out before, Ishiki does his best not to hit any vital organs or deliver any headshots when stabbing Naruto and Sasuke with his rods. He just refuses to do so. He proceeds to waste his chakra and life force shrinking Naruto's many Rasengans, summoning multiple large blocks from another dimension over and over again for no reason whatsoever. Bro was shrinking Rasengans from base Boruto. This is how bro was just wasting his life force and chakra. Like, he was just doing it because he could, not because he needed to. Now when Baren mode Naruto arrived, he did use some of his powers, but I won't fault him there because he was getting his ass whooped, so it made sense to use your abilities. And I'm not gonna criticize him for not shrinking against Naruto because he already saw that Naruto could perceive his rods in that small state, so it doesn't make sense for him to then shrink to that size at that point. Now there's one final thing I wanted to touch on, which is how he was able to summon Kawaki to the battlefield using his connection to Naruto's chakra. So pretty much after Kawaki lost his hand to Delta, he was given an artificial arm that was initially made for Naruto. The issue here is that it wouldn't work for Kawaki, so Naruto had to infuse it with his chakra so Kawaki could use it. So when Ishiki was holding on to Naruto's neck, he was able to sense Kawaki through Naruto's chakra connection to Kawaki's body through the artificial arm. Ishiki was then somehow able to summon Kawaki to the battlefield using this mere connection. So the logic is that Naruto's chakra is connected to Kawaki's, so Ishiki just connected his chakra to Naruto's chakra in order to establish a link to Kawaki. Now this is all fine and dandy, right? This is okay, it's cool, it makes sense, chakra is all connected, blah 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 blah. But my issue lies in the fact that Ishiki should have been able to do this from day one. He doesn't need Naruto, but let me explain. You see, so the Karma Seal is stated to extract the Otsutsuki data and chakra into the body of the vessel. At this point in the story, Kawaki's extraction percentage is around 85 or 80%, which means that a good amount of Ishiki's chakra and data was extracted into Kawaki's body. So why couldn't he just use his own chakra's connection to Kawaki in order to summon him? Why couldn't he use that connection to find Kawaki's location? Why did he need to do it through Naruto's chakra connection to Kawaki? Now you guys might be saying that the karma is now gone, so Kawaki doesn't have Ishiki's power anymore. Well, that's where you're wrong. As explained by Amado, even though Kawaki no longer has Ishiki's karma seal, he still remains Ishiki's vessel since Ishiki's power is still within Kawaki. The karma seal was just the key to accessing the power for Kawaki at that point in time. That's why Kawaki is still able to use Ishiki's power after Amado reconstructed his karma seal later on in the manga. So Ishiki not sensing Kawaki through his own link to Kawaki using his own chakra is just a plot hole. Again, this is what happens when you give a character an ability without thinking about the possible contradictions, just so you can have things happen. By the way, the chakra arm itself doesn't make any sense because Naruto himself states that the arm will stop functioning when he's sleeping since it's something he has to maintain, similar to a shadow clone. This is proven to be the case later on in the manga since it's shown that the arm doesn't function when Naruto was sleeping at home. This is once again backed up by the arm falling off Kawaki after Naruto fell unconscious post-battle in Jigen. However, this is later contradicted just a chapter later when the arm just starts working again for no clear reason. Kawaki then theorized that Naruto was knocked unconscious by Ishiki or was just out for a while, which implies that Naruto is no longer unconscious. But then when they get to the dimension and free Naruto from the sealing pot, he was still unconscious. So how exactly is Kawaki's arm functioning right now? It just doesn't make sense. They literally have Kawaki standing over Naruto's unconscious body using an arm they said should not be able to work while Naruto is unconscious. Like, what exactly is even happening here? Again, this is a case of the writer just ignoring his own established mechanics for the sake of the plot. This is all to say that when you're a writer, it's your job to avoid writing yourself into a corner where you have to rely on plot armor or plot convenience. Isshiki out of all of the Otsutsuki came off as the more logical and reasonable one. He's more strategic, analytical, calmer, and more composed. Well, at least he was when he was first introduced. His character slowly devolved into this one-dimensional monologuing villain similar to Thanos from Endgame, whereas we had a more layered and interesting Thanos in Infinity War. Ishiki suffered from a similar thing. There's a big difference between a character who is characterized as less intelligent or stupid as opposed to a character who is butchered for the sake of plot, making decisions the character wouldn't have made based on their established characterization. When it comes to abilities, it's your job as a writer to ensure that you account for every possibility in regards to its application. It's your job to ensure that its application is consistently applied. If you're unable to do so, you should invent a mechanic in the story which explains why this ability can't be used in this specific way at this specific point in time. If that isn't possible, you should scrap the ability altogether instead of moving forward and just hoping that the audience doesn't notice. Always respect the intelligence of your viewers. Expect more instead of less. Do this and I promise that we won't have these glaring issues in any form of media going forward. With that being said, let me know your thoughts on the video down below in the comment section. Of course, drop a like if you like the video, all that jazz. But I really want to know if you guys found this video interesting. Do you guys think I made good points, or do you think I'm nitpicking here? Some people will probably have that opinion, which is fine, but I think that if you're enjoying a media, if you're consuming a media, especially if you're paying for it, I think you should want the best for it. You know, you should look for the best and expect the best. Just like how the writer should expect from his audience, you should expect more from the writer as well, and from the artist and whatever, right? You should expect more. Have high standards, please, you know? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the content of this video. Did that make sense? If you have any contentions with anything I said, drop them in the comment section and I'll respond as I normally do. So with that being said, once again, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.